You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
In a world where film studios have pillaged every young adult novel, DC'd every comic book series, and Frankenstein every silver screen monster in search of the next movie mega franchise. Two nerds, two movies, one cinematic universe.
This is Randy.
And this is Jasper.
We watched two movies.
And they're running a recall on them.
Do you recall what we...
All I know is I was running and then recalled it. That was bad.
It's okay.
Bad. That was horrible.
So for this episode, we watched another listener suggestion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was actually suggested by Trinity, who is one of our patrons. Trinity is a patron on Patreon, patreon.com/Grawlix Podcast at the $5 a month level, which is awesome. But that means he's a puppet master. He gets to pull the strings. Every month he gets to suggest a topic for us to talk about on the show. And he had mentioned these movies. He said, I'm just throwing this out there, but, this and this would be a good combination. I was like, well, you're our puppet master, so we'll make it so. Took us about a month to get to it because of our schedule on.
Strings are attached.
Yes.
For this episode.
But hey, if you want to pull our strings, listener, go to patreon.com/Grawlix Podcast and you'll get access to bonus episodes, like hour-long bonus episodes. You missed out on the Cinevapic. If for just $1 a month, you can get our pre-shows, and the last pre-show for GCU was crazy. It was almost an hour-long episode with me, you, and Jesse. It was good stuff.
Good stuff.
Start with some political rants. Talked about some vaping.
I love that episode.
Yeah, it was fun.
Because in the future, we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. We crossed the Grawlix streams.
That sounds...
I'm going to have to get Melanie on one of these GCU episodes sometime.
It'd be good.
Having Jesse on here was fun. It was fun recording it with him, but also
we should have the whole family.
It was, yeah.
Grawlix.
The whole Grawlix family. It was fun being able to promote that episode with a guest, and the guest is Jesse, because normally he's just Jesse on our show. He's just one of us, but it's fun to be able to treat him as a special guest, because he was a special guest in our hearts. Are we still recording the podcast? What's happening? Yeah. So this episode, thanks Trinity for the recommendation, we watched Total Recall from 1990, the original.
And the 1982 version of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Blade Runner. Running on them blades.
Is that that's the song?
Was it 20-inch blades on the Impala? I think that's how that song goes. I'm not sure. We're not going there.
We've gone there.
We've gone there. We're not coming back.
All right, so what are we going to lead with?
We're going to lead with the runner.
All right, Jasper.
We're running ahead of the recall. I don't know.
So...
Totally.
Tell us about, by the way, we watched the final cut. There's many versions of this movie. We watched the final cut.
Yeah, after you said that, I found there's 9 versions of this movie.
There's a lot.
So, plot of the 1982 Blade Runner is, in a cyberpunk vision of the future, man has developed a technology to create replicants. Artificially created humanoids with short, fixed lifespans, which are illegal on Earth, but are used in the off-world colonies. In Los Angeles, 2019... Deckard is a Blade Runner, a cop who specializes in terminating replicants. Which, let me point out, it's not terminating, it's putting them into retirement. Mm-hmm. He is forced to come out of retirement when 4 replicants escape from an off-world colony and come to Earth. It is directed by Ridley Scott, and the writers are Hampton Fancher, David Webb Peoples, and Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, it's based on the Philip K. Dick story, Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep, I think is the name?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that in the starting credits.
Or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, something like that.
It stars my man, Harrison Ford.
Oh, your man?
My man.
Okay,
my
cool.
dude.
Cool.
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer returns. He was the villain, the main bad guy vampire in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I can't recall if he's been in other movies we've covered. I think this is his second appearance on the GCU.
Sean Young Emmett Walsh. I keep saying, when I go to say Emmett, I say Mehmet.
Mehmet Walsh. Emmett Walsh.
Walsh.
And Edward James Olmos.
Also has James Hong in it, which I've seen him in a lot of, usually crime shows.
Who's he?
He's here, I'll show you.
Which guy was he?
He was Hannibal Chew.
Hannibal Chew.
I think he played Lopan.
Oh, okay. Okay. God, he didn't have a very big role in this,
David
though.
Lopan.
I did not even notice him.
Yeah. He's in a bunch of crime shows, too.
You said you wanted to take the lead on this movie. Have you ever seen it?
I've seen, I think the first part of this movie is all I've ever seen in the movie.
Okay. Well, hit us with it.
I'm actually surprised, too, because it's a Harrison Ford movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that is after Star Wars.
Yeah, it was.
Of course. Like I said, I've told you previously that the story was kind of, I didn't follow very well. Also, now I think about it, I was really tired last night when I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that got me was the set pieces. I love almost everything art-wise in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Even down to, like, what's his name, Decker?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole way that Harrison Ford looks in that trench coat and everything, I was like, this is, like, legit. We had a little bit of backflipping again.
We did.
But the whole crashing through the glass part was just, I was like, is this going to end? Or
Oh, the one lady in the, like, transparent coat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, the inside of the buildings was kind of almost like, I want to say, it was like old colonial looking, maybe. I don't know if that's what you call it, but just the whole set looked really good. They won I want to say, not an Emmy.
Oscar?
I thought it's an Emmy too, but yeah, an Oscar for the art direction.
The visual style of this movie is kind of like the big thing. The movie had a big impact. It's iconic, that look. I'm not sure if it originated here, but it just makes me think of tons of anime. It makes me think of a ton of different movies have taken that kind of style for the future, where it's dark, crazy cityscape, neon, but it's a futuristic film noir look. The look of Deckard is the trench coat. He's like the traditional film noir detective set in this.
That's what I was going to say. It seemed with the trench coat and like kind of the way he carried himself, he was more a detective than like a, killing cop.
Well, in the one lady, is her name Rachel? What's her name?
I think Rachel.
Like her hairstyle at the very beginning is very, I guess what would be 40s, like a 1940s type. She's got a very 1940s style hair.
She's more like either the damsel in distress type, like coming into the detective place to get him, or the assistant.
She's not necessarily the femme fatale. The look of everybody else, though, I don't know what it is. I don't know.
It's like from 40s assistant to the one girl that sprays her eyes with the black stuff.
Daryl Hannah.
It's like assistant David Bowie. Like just
yeah.
Bam.
It is. It's like, this is what, 82 you said? So this is like, yeah, it's very 70s, 80s, kind of punk, kind of glam, kind of, I don't know what it is.
Like it was in at one point, I'm like, did David Bowie, like, was he a consultant or something? Like,
it's just that time period. That's the future. I kind of
the ground controlled and
so I agree. The sets are amazing. The art direction on this, the art is fantastic. When he first comes across Rachel in that, he gives her the test, but he walks into that building of, I can't remember his name, but the one guy who kind of makes the robots or designs them, or
Dr. something.
And he's in that room with the crazy view, and I'm like, that view is a 70s album cover. It's so bizarre with the like diagonal building that just enough to like cover up the sun, so you've got like this. It's pretty insane, and it looks amazing. And I know the final cut, I don't know exactly what they did, but I know there's things they touched up, but still, like, it's how it looks. They might have cleaned some stuff up. I could maybe some of the flying car stuff too, but I mean, that's how the movie looks, and it's kind of a breakthrough for visual effects.
Yeah, because I mean, it actually looks more 90s than it does 80s. Like, like the set pieces, and even like the elevator too was kind of cool. Like when she's hiding in the elevator with him, I bet you it was just like the door and then a light they passed by that thing. But
oh yeah. You mentioned the backflip already. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about the backflip for a moment. This is later. We're you know how we do, listener. We're just gonna generally talk about the movie. We're not gonna like go through it beat by beat. And spoilers, of course. We never say spoilers. Spoilers for everything, all the time. But Daryl Hannah's character, she's one of the androids. She eventually gets it, But you had sent me a message. I didn't watch it. I watched half of it last night and then half of it today, just because that's when I had time to watch it. But you watched it last night and sent me a message about, oh, here we go with the backflips again. And I was like, okay, he must be watching Blade Runner, but I can't remember the backflips. Well, then towards the end, Daryl Hannah's doing backflips. And I was like, oh, here we go. But the first backflip is super effective. It actually worked as an attack. She like came at him doing backflips, flipped around and like forked his neck with her legs.
That was so weird.
It was a weird scene, but it was effective. And then we get the unnecessary backflips. She actually turns from, like, she could have killed him right there. She actually like lets him go, turned from him, runs away, turns around and starts backflipping at him. So she like actually like ran away from him so that she could backflip back to him. And while she's backflipping, this whole unnecessary thing, he just shoots her. And it's like, yeah, what did you expect?
I didn't think that part was going to get as loud as it did, because I was watching this mostly middle of the night and my roommate had gone to sleep and she's just on the floor like, bah, bah, bah.
Dude, that's weird. It's a little bothersome, like her freaking out. It's pretty strange.
What I was like, finally, when someone's doing a backflip, someone just attacks.
Yeah.
Just like, bam. Like,
this is the thing we've been warning all these stupid characters that do unnecessary backflips about.
The immediate thought I had was, you deserve that.
Yeah, I know. When it went down that way, I was just like, yes. So I had seen this before. I've seen this a couple times and a couple different versions. It's been a couple years since I've watched it. The last version I watched was this final cut. I've also seen, I don't know, some other version of the director's cut. And when I was much younger, I think I've seen like the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut has like Harrison Ford voiceover narration because the studio, I guess it's something the studio wanted. And so they tried to play it like really lean into the film noir detective story with the narration. But a lot of the cuts that the director has control over, that's not there. Anyway, my point is, yeah, I've always really liked this movie and I enjoyed it this watch again, but there's problems. For example, the look of it, like we said, is amazing. It looks great, except some of it I hate. Like some of the characters, Daryl Hannah, like the way she looks, and I know it's better towards the end when she does have the weird black line sprayed across her eyes, but I hate her hair and I hate the way she looks. I hate her character, the look of her character.
Like, and too, when she scissors his head, she like is almost going Super Saiyan because
she looks
spikes up.
It does. It changes. Like it cuts to her like 4 times and her hair's different every time.
She looks crazy there.
It is scary.
Like the face, I was like, oh my God.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Or even though I kind of liked him, and it was weird that they kept pointing out that he kept running into the door. The people he made.
The little toys?
Yeah.
Creepy.
I was like, for one, creepy as hell. 2, what do they have to do with this movie at all? Like...
It's just a weirdness. Like
the 2 times they show him like walking and he hits the door and then he keeps going.
It's like he's programmed to do it, I think.
Oh my God.
What else? Oh, and then the music is also very iconic. It's by Tangerine Dream. I mean, it's like right up my alley. And some of it I really like. I really like certain tones that Tangerine Dream, certain synth sounds they use. I love the music that plays over the end credits. But some of the music I also kind of really can't stand. Like Tangerine Dream tends to use some sounds I don't care for. They'll lean into some of the cheesier sounding, in my opinion, synth stuff. And some of the music here it's all pretty decent, but some of it's really weird. For the most part, I think it works. It's not my favorite thing. I do like that a lot of the music makes everything feel alien and weird.
Talking about alien, I was kind of actually was expecting other species to be around, but it's weird how they kind of just kept it human. And
either I never caught, which is me being an idiot, or I just forgot, is so when Daryl Hannah's character finds the guy that makes the toys in their pursuit to try to find their maker, basically to extend their life because they only have like 4-year lifespans, these androids. So she finds the guy and he takes her, like she goes with him to where he lives, and he lives basically in this huge building that's like completely abandoned. He points out like there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room. Not a lot of people here. And I was like, they're huge sprawling cityscapes, like massive cities with incredibly tall buildings. Why does it feel like, and most of the time the streets seem crowded. So I was like, in the most versions of the future, like Earth's overpopulated and the design of the world leads me to think that. But at the same time, like he says, like there's not that many people around.
Yeah, and there's not a housing shortage, is what he says.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then she talks to him because he's got the thing where he ages fast.
Yeah.
And that's where they get a little exposition about, it sounds like most people have left Earth to live off-world.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I ever caught that before. So that's interesting that it's like this huge, massive like city, but apparently it's like, is Earth dying out or something? A lot of people, it seems like the majority of people, I guess, unless they're Asian, have left. Because that's a lot of what, like, I also find it interesting, the Asian influence on what looks like is probably supposed to be an American city.
It was like an Asian influence, but it looked like New York, or what New York would turn into.
And unless I'm, misreading it, I think that just plays on the idea of like, in the future, the world cultures will just, it's happening already. The world's getting smaller. People are getting afraid of it. But the cultures will just mingle everywhere. And, Asian country populations are huge. So it makes sense that if there's going to be another culture that meshes that heavily with ours, it'd probably be Asian cultures. 1982, this is, a pretty early movie. Well, not super early, but it's one of the first movies I can think of that really played on that. And I've since seen it in lots of other stuff, but...
Okay, and my thing too, I wanted to point out about this movie, and one of my talking points was, with movies like this, I always love how they envision the time we're supposed to be in now.
This is next year.
Yeah, this is legitimately next year.
It's like September of 2019 or something.
Yeah, and when they kept pointing that out, I'm like, holy crap. Like, they envisioned we'd be at this by 2019, and like 2019 is like months away.
Yeah.
And like, it's just weird to see, like, was Back to the Future showed up in 2015?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Dude, I love it when we pass the futures of movies.
Yeah.
And this happens a lot. I mean, eventually we're going to do Escape from New York. We have to. I love that movie. So spoilers on that.
Yeah.
But that was like supposed to be 1997 or 1998 or something.
Yeah. I was like, man, we missed a great opportunity. Like, too bad we did not start this podcast like 2 years ago, because that one that attacks him, he said he was born in 2017.
Uh-huh.
I was like, man, that'd been awesome to like be on Facebook like, happy birthday to this guy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. A side note, and this might be more important once we get to Cinematic Universe time. I have not seen the sequel, which is Blade Runner 2049. I'm assuming it doesn't take place in 2020.
No.
Have there really been that many Blade Runners? But yeah, I haven't seen the sequel, so.
Our boy's in it. My boy.
Your boy?
Mm-hmm. Ford's in it.
We will do that on this show as well. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm going to call it now, but I don't know when. I don't want to do it right away. I'm kind of thinking we should do Blade Runner 2049 and the remake of Total Recall.
Mm-hmm. With, what's his name? I almost accidentally rented that one. I was like, oh, is it Gerard Butler?
Is it? Oh, if so, he's okay. I thought it had Colin.
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
Yeah, I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, I think he's in there. I still want to see the new version of RoboCop.
I'm not interested in either. We will though, for the show, because that is, dude, some of these movies that have been remade, I do want to hit the remakes. I kind of am a little excited to use those as an excuse to do like kind of a throwback episode or something.
But yeah, it's just, like I said, that really caught me. Like, I was like, this is supposed to be 2019. And they think that we have flying cars and...
Oh, so let's talk about technology for just a moment, because I know I should look at my notes. One thing that really got me, and it's the future, I get it. Well, it's supposed to be the future, and they have future technology, but it's an old movie, so they still have tube TVs. But enhance. He's examining this photo on his monitor that he can give voice commands. And also, computers are very annoying sounding in 2019. Yeah, the sounds and the computerized voices they use. Like, in that respect, we're well ahead of them. But so he's examining this thing, and he's like, enhance. And the thing that pops in my head is the ridiculous CSI type shows where they somehow, even though those shows take place in modern day, they can enhance photographs and like somehow it regains the definition that's not actually there in the photo. It's ridiculous. Like, a lot of times when you see it in movies where they're like, enhance. All right, enhance it, clear it up. You can't do that. If the information is not there, it's not going to be there. This takes that to a whole new level, because he's like, enhance. All right, move over whatever, 30 to the right. Okay, enhance. In this 2D photograph, he's looking around corners. He enhances and moves the camera or whatever and it like reveals somebody behind a corner, and I'm like, what?
It's like drone footage.
It's not a, it's a 2D photograph. It's not a 3D model. Like it's not a 3D capture of a scene. Like you can't look around walls in a 2D photograph.
Right.
Like my mind was blown, but I was like, okay.
That's why every time you said it, I kept just thinking the Super Troopers enhance.
I don't remember. I hate Super Troopers.
Yeah, he's looking at a photo and he's like, enhance. He's like really
he's
throwing it at it.
He's they're playing on that thing, but not that Blade Runner specifically, but just that trope.
Yeah.
And Blade Runner to the next level.
Because at first I was like, oh, he's going to use the mirror's reflection.
Right. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but then it like turns.
Yeah, no. Then he goes around the mirror, around the wall, and there's a lady. No.
Ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. Here's my notes. Some of these, I'll run through the ones we've already covered. Oh, snap, next year. Rutger Hauer returns. Photo enhance around corners. I really was caught up on that. First backflip effective. Second, totally unnecessary. Backflip shows why you don't do that. Dead. It has the same kind of ugly cars as Total Recall. I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Rachel and the romance, quote unquote romance.
Wow, wow.
First off, that actress plays this like a robot, but I think too much, because she's supposed to be the robot where like he had to ask her over 100 questions before he figured it out. Like she's supposed to be the most lifelike robot, but she is the most robotic thing in this movie, and she looks dead inside. She doesn't emote anything ever, and their romance, like there's nothing between them except for this one scene where the only reason you know it's not rape is because they're playing sexy music, but it's real forceful romance. Well, it's supposed to be the old movie thing of like, she tries to leave and he's like, no, and is like all forceful, and then they start macking, which doesn't play well anymore anyway. But this one, like, she doesn't really seem into it until, seems like 45 seconds into this little sequence.
Until Marvin Gaye starts playing.
But I don't know, their relationship doesn't work for me. It's a very cold movie, which is fine, like emotionally, but I feel like it could be, like, I think it could be a way better movie if it actually seemed like there was some connection between them, given how the movie ends. Like, I like the idea of it. It's just the execution. Like, there's just nothing to that lady, and like nothing to lead me to believe that Deckard loves her at the end. My biggest criticism of the movie, other than, that, is I like it. I think it's fine. I thought you were going to have a hard time. This is probably why you had trouble following it. It's kind of slow. It looks great, so there's always cool stuff to look at. But it's so dark and dingy, but like well designed. But it's slow. There's a lot of Deckard watching TV screens and walking through cities and empty buildings and stuff.
There's even like the final fight was real slow. It
was real slow, and it doesn't need to be like super action paced, but there's not like a real sense of urgency to it. Even as, and this is going to become a checklist, I think, on the, eventually I'll add that to the posts, our checklist of recurring things hanging from high things during the climax. The climax of the movie is somebody's going to fall off of a building or something. But even during that, like, it just leisurely takes its time about everything. I liked Rutger Hauer in this, though. I kind of think this might be, I don't know. I can't think of any other dramatic things, but at times, I think this is some of his best acting. But yeah, it's just whatever. It's kind of slow.
Well, like I said, I loved watching it, looking at things, and
yeah, I'm more forgiving of things that are style over substance, so long as it's got like a good tone to it. So I like it. I like some of the ideas in it, but I can see the unicorn.
I don't know.
So it really bugged me, and then later the last little origami creature that Edward James Olmos's character leaves outside of Deckard's door, which I really like that touch, is a unicorn. So it makes sense. There's a tie-in. But the unicorn footage is literally from another movie that, it was Ridley Scott, right? That Ridley Scott filmed called Legend, that was not originally in this movie until like the final cut. He's just like, I got this unicorn from this other movie. I'm going to put it in Blade Runner. It's so out of place and weird. But the thing that really bugs me about it is it doesn't even make sense, because it's not like he's dreaming. His eyes are open when it cuts to the unicorn. I mean, I guess he's daydreaming, but I don't know. It kind of bugs me. It doesn't make sense. It feels out of place.
Yeah, I remember going past that part. I was like, the heck? What's going on? Like,
Do you think Deckard is an android?
I kind of do.
Do you?
I kind of do.
This is a big thing of contention with fans of Blade Runner because I think the general consensus is he's not, or it was never intended that he was. But there's big fan theories that, a lot of people are like, well, he is because this and this and this. The director has gone on to say later that he is an android. But a lot of people are like, including the screenwriters, were like, we never intended him for that, like, interpretation. So, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, as with a lot of art, intention versus interpretation doesn't really matter. It's how people perceive a thing. I don't know. I like the idea of it, but watching it this time, I don't know. I kind of don't think he is. The movie doesn't hint at it enough for me to really buy it.
Yeah, so the novel hints at the is Deckard a replicant problem by having Deckard casually mention that one of the indicators of being an android is lack of sympathy for other androids. His interlocutor then points out that given his job, this means that Deckard could be one too.
In the movie, they don't play it that way. He seems really bothered to kill these replicants. Like, it kind of seems like that's why he doesn't want to do it. It doesn't really get into why he quit, but he seems really upset when he shoots that first one.
This is Ridley Scott's first cut ran 4 hours for this movie.
Yeah.
Most of the crew, including the writers and director, admitted that while it looked beautiful, it was mostly incomprehensible, necessitating additional editing and an explanatory voiceover.
See, that's interesting because, this version we watched, it's 2 hours long, no voiceover, and I know you had trouble following it, but I actually didn't have any trouble following it. Of course, I've seen it before, but still.
Ridley Scott regards Blade Runner as probably his most personal and complete film.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one was Ridley Scott and Jordan Cronenweth achieved the famous shining eyes effect by using a technique embodied by Fritz Lang known as the Schufferton process, where light is bounced into the actor's eyes off a piece of half-mirrored glass mounted at a 45-degree angle to the camera.
Interesting. Okay. I was wondering about that. Is that in reference to, like, the robot's weird eyes sometimes?
I think so.
Yeah, where it's like cat eyes almost.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And that was pioneered by Fritz Lang. He's like a 1920s German filmmaker, like a pioneer. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was a cool effect, too.
Oh, yeah.
At first, I thought it was just kind of like a CG thing, but...
Rating. What'd you think?
Okay, my rating would be at first a 4.
Okay.
Just almost... And I almost say 4 just on art direction alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go 3.5 because I take a half a point away for the backflips. That just puts you back down there.
But it righted it. It did the backflips and then showed you why you don't do that.
True.
It is dumb, though. It was unnecessary. 3.5.
3.5. I'm
feeling a little bit... I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 4.
4?
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 because it's an iconic movie. It was groundbreaking visually. Looks great. Even though some of the Tangerine Dream sound I'm not keen on. Some of it is fantastic. It does set a cool tone, but I'm not going to go higher than 4 right now because it does lack an emotional core to it that feels like it should be there, but it's just not. Like Deckard feels like maybe he's depressed, but I don't know. It's missing something still.
The 1982 version,
theatrical cut,
has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
No. Audience score was 91%.
Oh, dude, Blade Runner is a well-respected movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it. I think, I don't know what's changed, if it's just me or I don't know, maybe I was looking at it more critical because I was watching it for the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think previously I might have given it a 4.5 or something kind of high.
I think I'm going to rewatch it again now that I'm going to be a little bit more awake and then just kind of like, oh, okay.
And yeah, and that's another thing. It is a little slow. So that's, I don't know. It's a movie I find myself rewatching every 5 years or so. Just
like I said, I liked it. It was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. By the way, some research here. Blade Runner was supposed to take place in 2019 Los Angeles. So, from the futuristic streets of next year Los Angeles to the blue skies of Mars. Our next movie is Total Recall. Recall.
I do recall that I will totally watch this movie.
That was bad. That was bad. Total Recall, the original from 1990. Construction worker Douglas Quaid discovers a memory chip. What? discovers a memory chip in his brain during a virtual reality trip. There's a tracking bug in his brain, but I didn't get that there was a memory chip.
Yeah.
Anyway, he also finds that his past has been invented to conceal a plot of planetary domination. Soon, he's off to Mars to find out who he is and who planted the chip. Oh my God.
What?
No wonder Trinity... I'm such an idiot for just now connecting this. No wonder Trinity recommended these movies. It's also based on a story by Philip K. Dick. Same as Blade Runner.
Oh.
I'm an idiot for not connecting that fact. Trust in Trinity.
Trinity shall set you free.
Directed by Paul Verhoeven. His second Paul Verhoeven movie we've covered. I'm sure there will be another one in the future. But the other one, of course, that we've done is RoboCop.
He made Starship Troopers
And
too.
he made Starship Troopers as well. That'll get in there sometime. And I've never watched the entirety of Showgirls.
Neither have I.
That one might have to go in there sometime.
Showgirls. Jazz hands.
It's nice. I like the tone even. Screenplay by Gary Goldman, Ronald Shusett, and Dan O'Bannon. Author Philip K. Dick, based on a story by. Starring Arnold. That's all you need to know.
Arnold as Arnold.
Quaid / Hauser. Sharon Stone. Rachel Takotny. Rodney Cox, who was also in Total RoboCop.
Total RoboCop.
Total RoboCop. Oh, I know my episode 10. No. Michael Ironside. Really, like a ton of people that Paul Verhoeven worked with in several movies. Total Recall. I have seen this movie lots.
I've seen it at least 5 times.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen this movie a ton. This came out in 1990. Yeah, this is a movie I watched a bunch all through the 90s, several times since then. Yeah. I like it.
I think the first time I saw it was 8, maybe 9.
Yeah. Oddly enough, for some of the stuff that's in here, I think that's no, that is right. About the perfect age for me too. I watched it shortly after it came out in 1990. So I probably seen it maybe 91 when I was like 9. Those 3 boobs. No, come on. As a kid, that always stuck with you, right?
Yeah.
That's what kids would always like. You'd be like, Total Recall. Be like, oh, it's the chick with the 3 boobs.
Yeah. I remember that being pointed out quite a few times.
Exactly. That's my point.
I think that was that what spawned like all the cartoon shows doing the 3 boobs thing?
I don't know.
Because like Futurama does it. I think Simpsons did it they're almost the same people. So
Maybe.
I think even Family Guy referenced it.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, Total Recall. Again, like Blade Runner, I hadn't seen the sequel. I've never seen the remake. I don't know. A couple things that struck me with this is Arnold is so hammy. Like not in a bad way, but he's like he plays it almost goofy. Like he smiles like towards the beginning before it's really going down. He smiles and it's like such a big hammy Arnold Schwarzenegger smile. It's so funny.
Kind of go back to Blade Runner, that whole romance scene where it's kind of forced right in the beginning. Right in the beginning.
Which with Arnold and
his first wife.
Wait, which one's his first wife?
The
Sharon Stone?
The one that tries to kill him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally forced. It's
literally.
Yeah.
But then it was like
it's a lie.
Music plays and it's fine.
Here's what I found that's really weird about that. Why would they assign that job to the one guy's wife? Like, why would they have Michael Ironside or whatever? He's not the main bad guy, but he's like the main bad guy's right-hand man, who also has his own right-hand man. But it's his wife. Sharon Stone's character is his wife, which is why he gets so mad when she dies later. Why would you have your wife do this?
Right.
So, I don't know. I thought that was weird. Tonally, this movie's so strange. It's a Paul Verhoeven movie, but it's like a little goofy in a way, but also ultra violent. I don't know. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly the tone of it.
Now, kind of comparing it to Blade Runner, like in art direction, I thought this one looked cheesier.
It does. It does definitely. I think it's got a kind of interestingly unique look to itself. Like before he even leaves Earth, I noticed a lot of the buildings, the walls are bare concrete. Like everywhere they go, that's like the look. It's just like bare, like that smooth concrete. Everything looks that way. And it's such a strange aesthetic, but it's definitely intentional. And I thought that kind of made it look interesting. And then you get to Mars and you get that weird, the Mars like ghetto area is its own thing. It looks like people took cheap old tin mobile homes, converted into diners, and then chopped it up and used pieces of it to build this Mars colony. Like, I'm just trying to find words that conjure the look.
Right.
I can't find it, but there's, I mean, again, with makes sense as Philip K. Dick, but there's a lot of like great ideas in this. Whereas Blade Runner didn't really, the Rachel character says to Deckard something about like, you know, how do you know you're not an android? But it, and even though Ridley Scott has since like really played up that aspect, it doesn't play on that very hard. Like, it's not like a head trip movie. This, I mean, is literally a head trip movie because you go on trips in your brain, get it? Anyway, but this is all about what's real, who are you? Is any of this real? In case you don't know, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but Arnold is like a construction worker and he's got this obsession with Mars. He lives on Earth, but you can go on trips to Mars. I don't know why. It really does look like a crab hole. And it's like, it just doesn't look great. So then he's like, well, he sees this commercial for Recall. Was it just Recall? Was the name of it?
Yeah.
And
it's REKA.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Recall.
Where basically it's such a bizarre concept because it's not like you would experience it. They implant a memory of a trip. So basically you go, they put a memory of like a week-long vacation in your head and you pay for it. And then you've got this memory of a trip. But that's so strange because it's not necessarily like actually going through and doing the trip. It's just like remembering it. But in this case, if the movie is not real, like what happens, then it is like going through and doing it. But so he goes to do this like trip. He even is talked into getting the secret agent package. You know, why go as you when you can go as someone else? But then supposedly, like when it's happening, it goes wrong and he breaks out and they're freaking out like it's a schizoid embolism. Like a panic delusion based on like the memories we tried to put in there, and they're like, we didn't put it in there yet. He's actually been there.
Which I'd like to point out, that guy comes in like any manager but two I've had, where he calls the lady a dumb and doesn't even know what's going on.
Oh, I know. Yeah, comes in very aggressive. That's kind of like a 90s movie thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Or maybe 80s thing, where it's just like characters come at each other like just so like jarring.
But yeah, I was like, why would you even have to talk to her like that before? Yeah, when she's like, no, we haven't even put it in yet. And he's like, oh, okay.
But he wigs out and basically breaks loose. And then the movie happens. He ends up killing some dudes. His friend that he worked with at work turns out to be a spy watching him. And his wife turns out to be a spy. But like I said, when they put him in the chair and the one tech's like going to put his memories in, he's like, oh, Blue Sky on Mars, that's a new one. Spoilers, that's the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So just like throwing that out there is like calls into question any of it. They even call it out directly at the end. Like they have a conversation because he ends up there with his sleazy yet demure chick that he's been dreaming about. And they're even like, well, what if this is a dream? But I like it. I like that idea. Here's the problem. And maybe it's just the movie being a movie. And it was supposed to be a dream, or maybe it's supposed to be both, or just left open to interpretation, which is how it seems. And I know dreams can do weird stuff like this, but it follows other characters when I almost called him Deckard, Quaid isn't around. And in my head, that makes it not a dream, because why would he be dreaming of these characters?
Kind of meant to put this in here before we went off on our...
I'm sorry about that tangent.
Weird rant, but just that first scene where he busts a glass on his spacesuit, that was just weird. You know,
the eyes, dude... The eyes, and you can kind of, the tongue does it a little bit. The eyes bulging, that's always an image that stuck with me.
Do they just always like inflate a head or something?
I think so. This movie does look, it's so weird. I think part of it is, it's the production, but also like the film stock of the time. That's kind of early 90s look. It looks weird and cheap. Part of it's the color. It's not cheap. Like this was another kind of, like this had groundbreaking effects in it. This has a lot of rubber heads in it though. How many rubber heads of Arnold do you think have been made over the years? Because
I know what the worst one was.
Terminator? Is that the worst? Yeah, that was pretty rough. But there's a rubberhead Arnold in at least 3 or 4 scenes in here. And it doesn't look great. One groundbreaking scene I remember hearing about a lot, where he's got the woman disguise. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. First off, why is he like, why is his body freaking out? Like, it's so weird to me, this whole thing, this concept. But also, I call total crap on that outfit. However this machine's supposed to work, it's really bizarre. But when he finally takes this mask off, this woman mask, he like turns the ear and then the ear attached to this long rod comes out from the side of his head. Dude, it's clearly, now this is where the effect is impressive, because it's really like, whoa, how did they do that? But it doesn't make sense, because the rod is like 2.5 to 3 feet long, and it comes out straight from the side of his head. Not only where is his head in all that, where's the rod go to? Why does it not come out the other side? Was there some like TARDIS technology in there? What's going on? And then it like pulls apart and raises up. Like, I mean, it looks cool, but where is his face in all this?
Yeah, because my thing would be like, you would think it could be collapsible, like a toy lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
But then there still have to be space, like, for it to collapse.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Well, and there's depth, though. There's depth. You can see, like, when it pulls aside, you can see, like, down in that hole.
He's supposed to be under there somewhere, but...
Where? In a bag of holding? In a portal?
No,
like,
he puts his head down, and then that head comes up, and then when that's done, he just lifts his head up.
Well, maybe.
Chest.
Maybe. But it, like, pulls apart all weird. Like, it looks super cool. It's another super rubber Arnold face underneath it, but... weird. I don't understand that technology at all.
I just feel like when he signs on for a movie, they're like, okay, we need to get a rubber molding of you real quick.
It should just be a given. Yeah.
Or he just appears on site with it. Here's my rubber head. I know you're going to need it.
He's like, they all need it. Always.
They're like, no, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Give me that. Just take it from...
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting movie because it feels like a smart movie, but at the same time feels like a real dumb movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got, just the action, stupid one-liners.
I always put it on the same shelf with my enjoyment of different timelines.
Okay.
Which Star Trek is so good at doing. Because then I'll watch like a movie like this, or like, the different storylines, or what's real, or like our question back when me and my dad used to talk is which Enterprise is this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of that same thing. Like, because my problem is I get stuck on that, and I'm just like, is this the real? Is this Arnold's real life? Is this the fake one? And then I just mull that over the whole time I'm watching it, which is, again, like I said, Star Trek. I'm like, is this did the actual Enterprise make it back? Are they all dead? Like, for the rest of the series. Like, I think the first one, Star Trek, happened in season 4, and I thought about it until it was done. Is this the real crew? Like, but that's how I felt with Recall. Is like, is this actually Quaid, or is this the agent? You get caught on it, and then it just encapsulates everything I think about as I watch it.
One aspect to that I really liked is, so if you're buying into this is actually happening, and if not, whatever, the memories logic, when you find out, like, because basically they've given him totally fake memories. He was somebody else. They covered that up or swapped it out with fake memories. Like his wife, like she said, she's only really known him for 6 months, even though he remembers years of their marriage. And what I like is when you finally find out who he wasn't just some secret agent. He was one of the bad guys. He's one of the guys he's fighting against. Yeah. And I thought that's such a good little twist where it's like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm still fighting against you because what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
Apparently my old self was an asshole. So like the whole thing was his old self's idea of doing this to himself so that he could be like the ultimate mole in this underground resistance on Mars. There's definitely very on the nose social commentary in this movie, not unlike RoboCop. This time period, like this and RoboCop, like Paul Verhoeven movies of this time period, they both have similar but different looks and feels. Both the movies we're talking about today came out in really interesting time periods because this is 90. So this is like late 80s when you've got those like ridiculous action movies, but they're starting to mesh with like Predator or RoboCop, where they're meshing with sci-fi and horror into it pretty well. And then 1982, Blade Runner came out, and we'll get to more, but we've like The Thing came out in 1980. There was a ton of movies.
It's weird to think too, though, that Arnold was like the 80s Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or like
I guess I never
The
thought
Rock is more.
I never thought of it that way. Yeah, I guess so.
He is in
I don't
everything.
know. I don't know what it is about The Rock. I like him, but I kind of don't. Mainly because I think the movies he's in suck. But Arnold seems bigger to me than that.
Like a lot more of his movies did better.
Yeah, the tough thing, oddly enough, I don't really have a lot to say about Total Recall. It's fun. It was entertaining. It is also like 2 hours long.
It was way more entertaining when I was a kid than when I watched it.
Oh, really? Really?
Mm-hmm. I think if I would have reviewed it way back then, I'd probably said it's really good. But then again, watching it so many times may affect my rating.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'd say it's a classic, though. it's one of those movies where I haven't watched the remake because I've not heard particularly good things, and I'm like, it's not going to be the same kind of movie, which is fine. It shouldn't be, but like, why? Just watch Total Recall, man.
Right.
Why? This is good. There's no way some bland remake, whatever. This is not a review of a movie I haven't seen. This is a review of Total Recall from 1990, so I'll stick to that. But yeah, okay. Well, yeah, let's do it. Let's do ratings. This is going long.
What's your rating? Let's hear you first. Oh, he is thinking about it.
I know. Normally I rate these beforehand, and I haven't rated either of these yet. I mean, I think I've rated them both at some point, but I'm trying to go fresh. I'm not going to look at my old rating. I'm going to go 4 stars again. It's a classic. I think it's great. I think it's pretty fantastic. Other than it looking like it looks from that time period, I think it's aged fairly well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too bad. It did not give me 4 stars because I'm going to take 1 star off because it did not give me enough to say on this episode. I don't really know. It's oddly enough, whatever. It's Total Recall. It's good. And watch it.
I'm going to go 3.
Oh, ouch. Okay, why 3?
Just because, like I said, I wasn't as much like entertained with this one as I was Blade Runner, like with the art and stuff. But I think the cheesy factor kind of like, just kind of threw that in there.
Yeah.
And then making me think about the timelines for an hour and almost 2 hours.
Oh, is that a negative?
Yeah.
Really?
Because then I don't know what's going on in the movie because I'm thinking about it the whole time.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, 3.
Okay. So, Jasper.
Mm-hmm.
The movie studios are looking for some somewhat brainy, but still potentially big blockbuster action movies, so they picked up a couple of Philip K. Dick properties. How would you combine Total Recall and Blade Runner into one cinematic universe?
I didn't catch the year that Recall took place. I might make my own timeline.
Oh, trivia. With a budget of $50 to $65 million, Total Recall was one of the most expensive films ever made at that time. So not cheap.
Right.
It just looks kind of cheap because of the aesthetic. Total Recall from 1990 takes place in the year 2084. So they were smart. They launched it out there a little ways.
So what mine was, and I had this wrote down, but my laptop crashed, was that I was going to try to make it to where when he goes to the machine, he is Deckard. And that, I think that's what I thought it was ahead. So he was going back to learn how this rebellion on Mars started.
Wait, how was he going back? What?
Through the machine.
Is it a time travel machine now?
No. Okay. So you do,
or he's putting putting the memories from back then into his head?
Yeah. Basically, hold on. Basically what I was doing.
Whoa, buddy. Somehow you took Blade Runner and Total Recall and made it more confusing.
The problem is I've made it Assassin's Creed.
This is not the Animus.
Yeah, I thought what the machine was. I was like, he is going into the Animus.
The Animus, okay, that doesn't make sense to me though. You can't change a memory is a memory. It doesn't. If you change the memory, it doesn't change what actually happened.
But no, that's what.
Or does it? Is that what your movie's about? Okay, sorry. Go ahead. You just got me on a tangent.
No, so basically he's replaying. They found out how to get memories from other people, and he's replaying the memory of Deckard. The people on Mars that are rebelling are replicants.
Like the mutants?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because part of the reason that
degraded replicants.
Yeah. Well, and the one guy said he couldn't fix Rutger Hauer replicant because it basically like they degrade, like it affects their system like a virus. Mm-hmm. So that's, it mutates them.
The next movie would be extrapolating how the things on Mars are happening.
Okay. Interesting.
I want to hear yours now.
Okay.
Have anything to do with the Animus?
No.
You are now entering the Animus.
Because so there was two ways I was thinking about taking this. So I'll just follow one train of thought here. So Blade Runner. Ridley Scott decided there's a couple changes he wanted to make. So he comes out with the final cut. It's exactly the same, except for 2 more seconds of unicorn footage and a post-credit scene has been added. The post-credit scene is Deckard wakes up in the Total Recall Center, freaking out. He's like, what is this? What's going on? Where's Rachel? And they're like, calm down, Mr. Whatever. Maybe his name's still Deckard. What program did he have? He had I guess it wouldn't be futuristic to them. He had the noir detective android storyline, and so then he breaks out and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He ends up on Mars. This is before, I'm guessing. Okay, so I'm gonna guess this is, at this point the rebellion's still happening. He comes across Quado because he's trying to figure out like if what's in his brain. They messed up his stuff. There's so much we could have talked about in Total Recall. Like we didn't even touch on the weird Quado or Benny. Benny, screw you! Like we didn't touch on none of that stuff, but whatever. So then Quado goes to read his brain, and it turns out Deckard was right. That stuff did happen to him, but there's something else that Deckard didn't know. He's an android, and as far as Quado can tell from his android memories, Rachel was real, but they don't know where she's at. So then we take a movie to go through Deckard waking up in Total Recall world and finding out he's an android, and that sets up the next movie of like trying to find Rachel, but we never do because whatever, she's dead inside. She's dead inside.
Wow.
But whatever, for added connection though, I can't remember the name of the company or the guy from Blade Runner, but
the Tyrell Corps.
The Tyrell Corporation, they used, Recall as like a sister company, a split off company, because that's the same technology they use to implant the fake memories into the androids. Is they figured out, hey, this works on people too. We can sell them vacations.
Mm-hmm. So could Quaid be an android in the story?
See, that's the problem. That was the other way I was thinking. So, okay, there were too many ways to possibly go. And obviously, as you can tell from my rambles, they weren't all totally thought out. But so one thing was Blade Runner sequel happens and we join Rachel and Deckard on Mars. We'll go from there. Another one was, Quaid is an android.
Yes.
See, but this is cinematic universe, so that's its own separate story until the two meet in like the third or fourth movie, maybe. We got to listen. We're learning from Warner Brothers DC's mistakes. We're taking the Marvel method. We're going to do separate movies before bringing it all together instead of going backwards.
Our own version of the Avengers.
Except it's what a weird Deckard and Quaid, and there's got to be other characters from this world. The guy from Blade Runner 2049. I haven't seen the sequel. That probably changes things. So
isn't that also Colin Farrell?
No, that's the guy from Drive. Real human being. Oh, we're doing Drive sometime too.
Drive and Transporter?
Oh God.
Huh?
Yeah, that's actually freaking perfect. I don't like Transporter. Maybe I'll feel different about it now, but I don't remember it being a very good movie. And those are so different movies though.
Or what's that other Jason Statham movie?
Crank? Oh, Crank. No, yeah, maybe. It's on with Crank. I like those movies. Those are stupid ridiculous, but they're fun and so high energy. That's actually a pretty good pair with Drive too, because Drive is like so low energy.
My name is Jeff Chelios, and today is the day I die.
Yeah, I don't know. Help me out with this cinematic universe. What do you think? What would be the best way to go about it? I
think we find out that he's an android.
Which one?
Quaid. How
about the twist? Quaid is an android. Deckard is not. Deckard has to hunt down Quaid?
Yeah.
Because Rachel's still there. So like they're letting him get away with keeping her.
So he
quote unquote keeping her, but whatever, she's a robot. You know what I mean?
Someone went somewhere.
They use her as leverage against him so that he has to keep working for them.
Oh my God. I was going to say Deckard hunts down Quaid.
This is good.
Deckard hunts down Quaid. They chase each other in the flying cars, and then Quaid's he shoots it just enough that it goes down into a jungle. You see where I'm going?
Into the past?
Into the past. No, and then he crashes in the jungle, and then Deckard has to fight Predator for him.
We got to the next episode. What we were talking about doing, we have to do it because I love the idea of just taking. We've got some great characters, just throwing them. Hunger Games. Only it's Predator, RoboCop, Judge Dredd, Deckard, multiple Arnolds.
Yes.
Terminator.
Because when Quaid crashes, just the metal coming past him rips the sleeves off his shirt.
Okay, so
he takes the mud and paints himself.
Okay, before we went on that tangent, reeling it back into the cinematic universe at hand, dude, If it was a wait, so is Arnold? Is he is Quaid the Terminator? If he's an android, is he the Terminator?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Because that actually that's not even cheating cinematic universe. That's combining two things and making the Terminator.
That would explain the ear thing. Because he's actually a cyborg.
You're right. Also, again, God, this is something I wanted to touch on for Total Recall.
Or is he liquid metal and he could do it?
That also explains how he could survive the end of Total Recall when him and that woman should I'm sorry, I forgot her name. But him and the woman, the love interest, should definitely be dead. Mm-hmm. They were out on the surface of Mars. Dude, it seemed like minutes. And their necks were bulging out. They'd be dead. And if they're not dead, they'll be dead soon. That's some serious internal damage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but that explains how he survives that. I love this idea. See, this is what I'm talking about. When we spitball them, that's fine. Because I pitched like 3 different ideas, and from that, we ended up coming up with a fourth totally separate idea.
Buckle up, episode 10 is going to be epic.
So I must say, seeing how well Decker fared against Rutger Hauer android, dude, he doesn't have a chance. There's not going to be a movie there because he does not have a chance against Arnold android. I mean, we've seen Arnold android in the Terminator, and Decker got the crap kicked out of him by Rutger Hauer at the end of Blade Runner.
Right.
Like, he's only alive because Rutger Hauer, saved him. He literally saved him from falling, so...
Man, I'm already thinking about next episode.
Okay. It seems like every episode we approach the cinematic universe pitch is different. Sometimes they're written out. Sometimes we're obviously just pulling it out of our butts. And sometimes we are, but then come up with something good. So, as we've hinted at here, next episode, I'm actually super excited for it too. I don't know if we'll have time to arrange a guest, but it would be a good episode to bring somebody else on to throw some ideas in. However, what should we call it? This will be the first. So it seems like every so many, maybe every 10, every so many, we're not going to take season breaks, but if we did, this would be the season finale for season 1.
Grawlix, the Extended Cinematic Universe?
Oh, it'd be the Extended Cinematic Universe episode. Oh, I love it. So we're basically going to look back at all the movies we've covered in the last 9 episodes, except for episode 3, but that was a special one-off. That was an alternate universe.
We should also open it up to the listeners to...
Yes. I'm going to have to start...
take all of ours and make their own.
I'll make a post on the website, and I'll pimp that around with a list of all the movies we've covered so far on episodes 1 through 9. So it'll be 16 movies, the 16 movies we've covered so far. And basically the episode is it's going to be a free-for-all. So we're going to be able to... We'll get a chance to, take the movies that we wanted to pair up, or we would have, would make a better cinematic universe or a more fun cinematic universe and pair those up. But also just have a total free-for-all episode like we were just almost about did just now. But yeah, I'll make a post so that listeners, you can see all the movies, so you don't have to search it up yourself if you haven't listened to all the episodes. Send us your pitches for any of them, all of them, whatever, combine any of them you want. But I'll also include some type of poll for, I don't know, either people's favorite or the best cinematic universe that we've done, or I don't know, some way for people to select their ideal cinematic universes out of it. But yeah, we'll open it up to you guys. It'll be a whole episode of that, just a free-for-all of 18 movies, 16 movies. I think that's a great idea, especially since we just invented the Terminator out of
right
the cinematic universe.
Oh man, I'm sitting here already going through.
Now that I think about it, I don't think Skynet or whatever it was, I don't think they based that on Predator Arnold. I think that was based on Total Recall Arnold. Total Recall Blade Runner.
I think I'm going to legitimately go home right now, and I'm going to pop the laptop open and start going.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be great. Be a GCU number 10, the Extended Cinematic Universe, Season 1 or Part 1. I think that's it. Made myself excited for Blade Runner Total Recall Terminator Universe, and I'm super excited for next episode. And then we'll announce what movies we'll watch for episode 11 then later too.
Cool.
I've been Randy, or I am still Randy. Maybe I'll be Randy next time. I don't know.
After this concludes, I will not be Randy.
After this, when you're not listening to this episode, I cease to be Randy. Mm-hmm. Hey, you can hear more Grawlix Podcast and Grawlix Cinematic Universe at grawlixpodcast.com. Follow Grawlix Podcast at Grawlix Podcast on Twitter. It's GRAWLIX Podcast. Same thing on Instagram. You can follow me at Randall Silvey. It's RANDALSILVEY on Twitter. This is new. On Instagram, follow me at Podcast Producer. I'm Podcast Producer on Instagram. That's great. Also, podedit.com, randallsylvie.com to see my other stuff. It's not all just podcast stuff all the time. It pretty much is, but also, sometime soon, I'm not sure when the episodes will be dropping, I'm on a new podcast about Westworld. Speaking of androids. Oh man, Westworld really takes the idea that Blade Runner touches on and just runs wild with it. But I am on a new podcast called Debugging Westworld with Dustin Smothers. Dustin Smothers he's a host of a ton of shows, the Pro Wrestling Mothership, the No Coast Nerd, Capital Wrestling Podcast, tons of stuff. You'll be able to find that on prowrestlingmothership.com. It's a network. They have like a wrestling podcast network, but he's also branching out into other stuff. And it should also probably be on electronicmediacollective.com soon. And whatever, that's the main stuff. What about you, Jasper?
Oh, I'm still Jasper.
Will you continue to be Jasper?
Yes, hopefully. You can catch me on Twitter at Ninja Monkey Live, which is NINJAMUNK3Y Live, or Instagram, but the same name.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Word
to your mom.
Come to drop bombs.
Got more rhymes in
The Bible's got psalms.
Oh, that's what that lyric is.
More rhymes than the Bible's got psalms.
This is right at the end of the podcast where we started playing In the Arms.
So she finds the guy, and what? I totally lost track of what I was just saying. What did we just say? What did you just say last?
Oh. Something. Okay, let me back.
So she finds the guy.
I was talking about the toys and then the alien race. Right.
Oh, okay. God, I did not get enough sleep. I have not been getting very much sleep.
Jumped off the rails.
Oh man. I think yesterday I got like 4 hours and woke up and couldn't go back to bed. I don't get it. We're both a little off on our sleep.
Yeet.
Okay, so. Okay, I almost lost it again.